What's up everybody, Dan MUNRO coming back at you with another Ask Dan Anything question. This one comes from a guy named Pete, and it's about jealousy. And what he sent through is, I get obsessively jealous about my girlfriend's sexual past, imagining scenarios and situations from her past, for example, and making mental movies. I completely understand why this is wrong and illogical and even hypocritical. But no matter how much I think this through, I still can't shake the feeling of resentment and judgment. It drives me crazy. I was wondering if you had any steps or practical things that I could do to combat this problem. This is a really common one. It comes up a lot, and different forms of jealousy come up a lot in my work, but particularly this one about the threat around somebody's sexual history. Pete goes on to say, part of me feels that if I become single and get more experience with women, this will solve the problem and help me to understand the sexuality of women more to the point where I lose this irrational judgment and jealousy. But I like the relationship I'm in, and I think there must be a different way to solve this problem. Pete, you're absolutely right. There is a different way to solve this problem. And your initial impulse to solve the problem by leaving the relationship and hooking up with other girls speaks to me a little bit about where this jealousy is coming from. So we'll start with jealousy in general, and then I'll move more specifically into your case there, Pete. So jealousy in general. I've learned, and I've already made a video about jealousy, which I'll try to remember to put into the comments below here. But essentially jealousy shows us that we feel threatened. And for us to feel threatened, it shows us two things. One is that like I said, we feel threatened, and two is that we feel threatened to lose something, therefore we are possessive. So this jealousy is telling us that you are possessive around your girlfriend. Part of you is trying to keep her to yourself, and so you see her previous experience as a threat to that. We could extrapolate this out and see that some part of you believes that her previous sexual history somehow indicates that she could be perhaps more interested in other men than you, and therefore be stolen away at some point. Or it could simply mean that her history somehow makes her enjoyment of you less, and therefore is a threat to the relationship. So sometimes just understanding that you feel threatened and the neediness behind this feeling of threat, that the only way you can feel threatened in this way is if you're trying to keep and possess her. So it shows that part of your connection here is probably unhealthy, because you believe that you own her, that she is something that can be taken away. Now if she is just a unique person who you have experiences with, and you choose to call those experiences a relationship, then nothing can be taken away. You're just connecting with her until you're no longer connecting with her. If she's a bad fit for you, then she'll cheat on you and leave you, and you'll be glad that that happened, because you don't want to keep someone who is going to do that in your life, and yet you're trying very hard to keep her. These jealousy fantasies are expressing your neediness to keep her. The other thing, and I think this is the darker truth to your jealousy, is that it's an excuse to escape. When you talk about how part of me feels that if I was to become single and get more experience, this will solve the problem. Your solution to solve the problem of your jealousy with your girlfriend is to leave her. And this tells me that this jealousy is actually your fear trying to get you to leave her. And I don't believe this is a healthy reason behind this. Those mental movies that your fear is projecting into your mind, and remember, anything fictional and scary in your mind must be fear-based, because fear is a fiction. So it's making these movies and horrifying you and scaring you, and then part of your brain comes up with this idea of leaving her as a solution. In simple terms, what I think is your jealousy represents your fear about staying with her. There's something about your commitment in this relationship that you find uncomfortable. There's something perhaps about the connection with her that's deep and vulnerable, and you're scared. And so your brain uses these fantasies or these nightmares of her being satisfied by other men perhaps, in order to try and convince you to leave her and get back to your comfort zone. which tells me that this is probably a good relationship for you to be in. She represents growth for you. She's taking you out of your comfort zone, and this jealousy reaction proves it. So one of the things that I would simply express is that this jealousy is, I hate to say a good thing, but it's evidence that this is a healthy relationship you're getting into. That perhaps the potential for vulnerable connection with this woman is so strong that your brain's actually scared and it's trying to convince you through these fantasies to leave her. Now, one thing I'm willing to guess, and I'm probably accurate about, is that you are not being open and honest with her about this jealousy, and that's why you're ruminating on it. It's circling around your head and punishing you like somebody who's fallen into the ocean getting smashed against the rocks by wave after wave, because it's not getting out. There's no discussion with her to explore this jealousy, to see her side of the story, to come to agreements on what this means and how to manage it. You're keeping it all to yourself, trying to deal with it in here with no assistance. Now, what I love about jealousy the most is that it can be one of the most powerful ways to connect with a partner. Not through trying to manipulate their behavior, just through merely expressing it. My suggestion, Pete, is to go to her and tell her about these jealousy thoughts and fantasies that you're having. Show her that you're so scared of losing her that your brain is coming up with these horror stories and its worry about losing her, that you care about her so much that your brain's actually terrified of losing her. You know, you wouldn't be worried about her past unless you cared about her, or at least unless you cared about keeping this relationship. And this is one of the things that you'll have to figure out for yourself. Are you having these fantasies because she is important to you? Or are you just obsessed with being in a relationship? Given everything you've written, Pete, I think this is a case of you seeing her sexual past as a threat, as merely a representation of how strongly you want to be with her, and also how terrified you are of staying with her. That conflict in your head is being represented by these movies. And the solution is to share these movies with her, to tell her about how her past makes you insecure and scared of losing her. If she's a good fit for you, this will bond you closer together. If she's a bad fit for you, it may end up breaking you up, but hey, that was your strategy anyway. You can't really lose by sharing this. When in doubt, be more honest. That's kind of like my solution to everything. If you're not sure what the right way forward is, be honest about how you feel unsure. Be honest about what's happening inside your head, and let the two of you work on it together like a project. And the last thing I'll say on that is the same thing with anything to do with painful repetitive thoughts, OCD type thinking, is to practice diffusion. Now, if you go to my website, theinspirationallifestyle.com, and you use the search box and look up the word diffusion, DEFUSION, you'll see an article I made about diffusing from negative thoughts. And that will help you to deal with this. But I think mostly the most important thing is to express it. If you express it, you automatically make it something real that the two of you can talk about, rather than just a revolving, adapting, mutating fantasy inside your head. So I hope that helps. It's one of those things you won't believe that it will build the connection until you try doing it. So expressing jealousy will seem like the worst idea until you do it. And express it in terms of how you feel, not what you want her to do differently, or that you blame her for her past, just that you're afraid and insecure. And see what happens. So, I hope that helps. If you guys want more information on this, I suggest you get hold of my 3x Confidence and Authenticity Masterclass program. I talk a lot about how to both express and diffuse. And send your questions through, dan@brojo.co.nz. Subscribe to the YouTube channel as always, and I'll see you next time.